Hello, everybody. In the current affairs this week, the week ended 15th of December 2024. The biggest and the most important news, according to me, this week was that the Union Cabinet has approved the proposal of one nation, one election. Now, this proposal will be introduced in the form of a bill in the Parliament. Today, I would like to discuss the major economic impact and the economic advantages, or rather massive economic advantages of this proposal. But first of all, let us understand basically what is one nation, one election. According to this proposal, elections for Lok Sabha, which is the Union Parliament, Vidhan Sabha, the State Assembly, and the local government, all these elections will be held simultaneously. It would not be that three separate elections are held at different points of time the way it is happening as of now. Now let us look into what would be the challenges to make this thing operative, which is one nation, one election. The first and foremost and the biggest challenge for the government would be to see that this constitutional amendment goes through the parliamentary process. The reason why it is difficult is that this is a change which requires amendment to the Constitution of India. And when there is any amendment to the Constitution of India which is required, it can be done by only 2/3 majority in both houses of the parliament. Today, the fact is that the present ruling dispensation does not have the majority which is required to move a proposal for constitutional amendment. So, the government will have to consult, talk, and seek collaboration from other political parties who can support this idea. Then the other challenge would be that even if the entire proposal is passed, not just by the parliament, then it would require concurrence and passing of this proposal in state assemblies as well. And the third challenge would be that in order to conduct simultaneous elections for all these three bodies, which is the central parliament, the state government, and the local bodies, and that too simultaneously, it will require a lot of infrastructural changes for the election commission and the government. It will require a large number of more EVMs to see that all these three things can happen simultaneously. Moreover, other peripheral infrastructure would also be required to make this proposal operative. But all these things, in terms of infrastructure, are possible. Now, the most important thing which I would like to discuss, as I said, would be what would be the economic advantages of it. The first and foremost is that the moment there is an announcement of any elections, then the moral code of conduct gets triggered. And in the moral code of conduct, there is a policy paralysis because the government is not allowed to take certain policy level decisions. So every 3 to 6 months, there are elections somewhere in some part of the country. So now and then, there are policy paralysis in respect of some region or some part of the country, or maybe the entire country, which is not in the interest of the economy. The government machinery whenever there is elections, gets blocked. All the major officers and all the infrastructure of the government gets dedicated towards the election conduct process. Now 3 different elections and the blockage of the government machinery happens every now and then the moment there is an election. The third and the most important thing, government expenditure and expenditure by different candidates who are contesting happens now and then, and this expenditure is of a massive nature. It is expected that in the election 2024 of the Lok Sabha, the total expenditure by the government and the different candidates is to the tune of massive 1,35,000 crores. If we can save this expenditure by conducting simultaneous elections, it would be a massive saving. Now, when the expenditure which is to be incurred by the governments are subsumed into one expenditure rather than 3 expenditures, then this can lead to a reduction in government spendings and thereby a reduction in the fiscal deficit of the government, so that the government need not borrow more and more. In the Q2 of this year, we have seen in India that on account of elections, the government was not able to take decisions and make appropriate expenditure, and the entire economic activity in the country went to a slowdown. It was expected that this year India would grow at a GDP growth rate of 7%, but in Q2, because of elections, the GDP growth rate was limited to the extent of 5.4% on account of investments not happening from the government. So this kind of simultaneous election would lead to a scenario where investments would not get hampered. One of the important things when it comes to the personal front of the voters, they would not be required to vote now and then, which creates a fatigue and also a cost to them. This can lead to even better voting percentages. And as a culmination of all these advantages, it is expected by the experts that the GDP of the country on account of this single proposal can go up by 1 to 1.5%. A country which is growing at 7% just on account of one legislative change, if it can grow more by 1 to 1.5%, it could be a boon to the economy. Our Prime Minister always talks about his vision that in 100th year of Indian independence, which is 2047, he wants to see our country as a developed economy and a Viksit Bharat. It would be with these kinds of landmark reforms in the economy, only then we'll be able to do such things. Insofar as the stock markets in India and the US are concerned, there was no major change. It was more of a standstill and sideways market. The commodity market, crude was up by more than 4% this week. Otherwise, there were no major movements. This is all for this week. Thank you.